What is up, guys, and welcome to a brand new tier list. And today we're talking about all of the killer reveals in the Scream franchises, all of the many different people who took on the identity of the Ghostface killer. So with the release of Scream 7 this past weekend, obviously now there are 7 movies in this franchise. I'm not going to be including the TV series. I've never seen it. Personally, don't have any interest in it. Never heard a whole lot to make me have interest in it. So this is just going to be the 17 different people who have pulled the mask off at some point throughout these 7 movies. And I'm going to be ranking them off a couple of different criteria. Obviously, just on a baseline, how much I actually like them as a character and as a Ghostface killer. Of course, there's how good of a performance it is, how well the motivation works, how well the reveal was executed, a whole bunch of different stuff playing into it. And of course, this is one of those topics that we're all going to have wildly different opinions on. So please take this tier list. The link will be down in the video description below, and make your own. Tag me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Make your own YouTube video and tag me on that. Let me know what your ranking of all these Ghostface killers are, because it's just going to be chaos out there. We all like certain ones, dislike certain ones, and a whole bunch of crazy shit in between. Also, this should go without saying, but for some reason it never does. There's going to be a fuckload of spoilers in this video, especially for Scream 7. We're talking about who the fucking killers are, for Christ's sake. If you haven't seen the movies, don't watch this video! Now, as far as the 5 tiers that we are going to be ranking all these people in, starting off at the bottom, the worst tier to end up in, we have Wrong Number. These are for the Ghostface killers that I just do not like at all for a variety of different reasons. Right above that, we've got Knife Dropper. These are Ghostface killers that aren't necessarily bottom of the barrel, but certainly aren't that memorable, aren't that strong of a presence. Then you got Peer Pressure, the ones that are right there in the middle, that they're probably like a decently memorable henchman, one of the side Ghostface killers. Then you got Surprise Sydney. We're getting into the good shit. These are the ones that actually carve out a really nice legacy for themselves, and all the way up into the S tier, which I am lovingly calling Goatface. These are for the Ghostface killers that are the greatest of all time, the ones that absolutely make this franchise. And so let's kick this thing off. They're all in absolute random order, which is the way that I like to do it. I like a little chaos sometimes. And we are starting off strong, aren't we, with Detective Bailey. This is the lead Ghostface, basically, from Scream 6, played by Dermot Mulroney. And we're going to start off by putting him in Knife Dropper. Not a huge fan of this Ghostface, nor am I a huge fan of basically the entirety of the climax of Scream 6, but we'll get there. We got a few more to talk about. Now, Bailey, what I like about him is that his Ghostface, before being unmasked, is one of the most ferocious, one of the most mean, one of the most vengeful that you're going to see in the entire franchise. I really like the fact that he uses kind of the tattered mask, kind of like a Halloween 2018 type vibe going on. And for the first half or so of the movie, I like his character as a side character. I think that his place in the story is cool, and before his, performance starts to get a little cartoonish, I dig what Dermot Mulroney is doing, but like I just kind of hinted at, he starts to get very cartoonish. As soon as the reveals come, he's doing like this crazy maniacal Scooby-Doo laugh. The motivation of you killed Richie in the last movie, and so now we're going to take revenge on you. Like, that is just so redundant of the motivation for Scream 2 and not nearly as effective or fun. And the fact that he needed 2 other Ghostface to help him, and added in on that the fact that pretty much everybody of significance that they tried to kill absolutely walks away unscathed, has like impenetrable plot armor in this movie. It kind of does take away from the legacy of how mean and how ferocious his Ghostface is, which I was just talking about, because he's one of the least effective Ghostfaces in the same conversation. So Detective Bailey, not the worst, but certainly far from the best that this franchise have to offer. Now we got Mickey, the first Ghostface reveal from Scream 2, and I'm telling you, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of this character, I'm a big fan of this reveal, and I'm a huge fan of Timothy Olyphant, and I really like his performance in this third act. Scream 2 had a few issues where they were doing some rewrites, and I think the script leaked or something like that, and so they had to kind of do like an on-the-set rewrite to try to reconfigure the third act, and so they ended up, for all intents and purposes, just kind of picking somebody to be Ghostface. But despite the fact that that could have tanked this, and I'm sure for some people it does, and Mickey is all but absent from the second act of this film, I think he more than makes up for it with his great performance here. Like, he is the one Ghostface that I honestly think tries to like embody the inflection of Roger L. Jackson's Ghostface voice with his unmasked performance. How over the top, how maniacal he gets. Billy's mother! Didn't see it coming, did ya? Even his whole end game about doing all these murders so that he can have like this nationally televised court case where he's going to blame the movies as his motive for the first time ever, with the plan of that absolutely getting him off. Like, on paper, that seems ridiculous and something only a psycho would come up with. But tell me that real life has not been absolutely stranger than fiction in a way where that motive probably would work. Even the fact that he kills Sydney's boyfriend right in front of her and like actually makes her completely lose trust in him, which somewhat leads to his death. Like, he's one of the more cruel Ghostface. Like, you know, he might not be as brutal with the kills as some of the other ones on this list, but he's a lot more like mentally fucking with her as a character. And so he's one of my favorites. You know, there was a point where I probably would have told you he was in my top 2 or so. I don't know if I'd stick to that now, but he is definitely close to the top for me. I have always enjoyed Mickey. Now we've got Amber from Scream 5, played by Mikey Madison. Strangely, the only actor in this entire list that actually has an Oscar. But Amber, I'm going to stick in peer pressure. I will tell you, if it wasn't for the fact that it's so much fun to watch her get fucked up by Gail and Sydney in the third act, she would probably be at least one tier lower, because she is definitely like the side Ghostface. Most of these movies have like a lead Ghostface killer and then somebody who's just kind of tagging along for the ride that tends to not be the mastermind, seems a little bit more inept because of that. She's definitely that character, but she goes for it. You know, this was the first time I had seen Mikey Madison, and of course I did not see Honora in her future necessarily watching this, but there was some kind of spark to what she was doing. She owned it, very similar to how Mickey does it in Timothy Oliphant, where she just goes for it. Welcome to the third act. Pops her, gets really crazy with the overacting of the, oh my God, I'm in trouble, help me, and Gail and Sydney just sniff it out immediately. I think for as many faults and as many shortcomings that her narrative as a character has, she makes up for it with the fun of her demise. You know, fucking around with them and taunting them and then getting the shit kicked out of her and then taunting them again and then getting roasted alive in the kitchen. You know, Gail gets her moment to have a bit of revenge for Dewey. That's also something that has to be, you know, brought up here. Like, okay, logistically, it's a problem that a lot of these movies have. Like, is it realistic at all that Mikey Madison inside of a Ghostface costume would take down Dewey the way that she did? No, probably not. But that's just kind of something where it's almost like Ghostface in the costume is his own character. He's always bigger, taller, and stronger than typically most of the people that come out from underneath that costume. So you either accept that or you don't. But I know a lot of people have big issues with that, specifically because she takes out Dewey. But she took out Dewey. She's the only Ghostface in this entire fucking list that took out one of the original 3. Got to give credit where credit is due. So Amber, not the best, but certainly I would say more than deserving of being at least in that middle rung. Now we got the OG. Now we got the one that started it all. You got Billy Loomis here, and he's going up into Goatface. Not just because he started it all, not just because he's the OG, the one that kicked all of this off, the one that inspired in some way everybody else on this list to do what they did, but he's just a fantastic character. He's a really great character with a great performance by Skeet Ulrich, something that's definitely iconic, a lot of great lines, even the ones that he borrows from other characters. I would dare to say that there's more people that assign the line, "We all go a little mad sometimes," to Billy Loomis more than Anthony Perkins. And so there's that element to him that just stands out. But also, the first Scream is so brilliant at really just kind of getting your attention away from all the different characters that you should be keeping an eye on and giving everybody a motive or something weird about them to make them a suspect. And there's twice in this movie where they not only make you think that Billy is the killer, but also give you a reason to doubt that. You know, they give him the phone right after the first attack in Sydney, and then they throw him in jail while there's another murder. And then he gets out, starts to act a little weird again, and then you have him get stabbed at the party right when you think maybe he's going to be the one. Now that he got a piece of ass, now we're going to get the reveal. Oh shit, he's dead. Can't be him. And so there's just so much great about Billy Loomis and the way that they execute him as a character that I think for most people, he's either number 1 or number 2. Oh, This is going to be a fun one. Okay, so you got, what's his name? I have to look it up. Greg Bruckner. So this is one of the two Ghostface killers in the opening of Scream 6, like our fake out Ghostface killers. Now, I think by default, because we only see this guy after he has been massacred and you find him in the fridge, like we don't know him, we don't see anything about him, we have no idea if he's the more dominant one than his partner, like we don't know this fucking character. He's got to be defaulted to wrong number, but it's not because they executed him horribly. It's because that's him by design. Like the whole point of his character is that he didn't even make it through the first 5 minutes of the movie. We didn't even see him living. So this is kind of a funny anomaly in here. I think I've seen a couple of my friends rank them and they don't even include him, which I get because there's not much to discuss. But yeah, one of the opening killers for Scream 6 that gets killed right off the bat, presumably by Bailey, and his plans are fucked before we even know what the plans are. Oh, God. Okay, we've made our way to Scream 7 already. What the hell is this chick's name?
It's me! Jessica!
Jessica Bowden. I mean, that's kind of foreboding for where she's going to be if I can't remember her name, and I just saw the fucking movie less than a week ago. She is not going to be high at all. We're literally just debating between the bottom two. But I think that her motivation is by a landslide the worst in this entire franchise. I think to a certain extent it's indiscernible. It's just noise. It's just words to where you could be paying full attention and still be like, I don't know what the fuck this crazy ass chick is talking about. I don't find her to be that threatening of a ghost face, or certainly not like a shocking reveal whatsoever, because within the first 2 or 3 lines, it's like, oh, this is the only character in the movie so far who's just showed up dropping lore. I wonder if they're going to be Ghostface. They have not done a great job in the last couple of movies with hiding Ghostface or even using red herrings. And the only thing that I would almost want to give her a little bit of credit for is that she's a Ghostface that actually kills her own son and gives him the worst death in the entire movie. I honestly think over time, that's the only thing her Ghostface is going to be known for, and the only thing that people are going to actually give her credit for. Is that enough to put her in Knife Dropper? I don't think so. I'm throwing her in wrong number. Okay, look, like Scream 7 as a movie, I've reviewed it. I ranked the movies if you want my more in-depth thoughts on the movies, but I was highly disappointed in it. And the ghost face reveals is what I think is easily the worst part of the movie. And there's plenty of other issues before you get there. I just don't like this character. I don't like this character's motivation. I don't like the commentary, the way they try to weave it in about parasocial relationships. I think it's incredibly messy and it's not executed well at all. And not a fan. Not a fan. We're sticking her in wrong number. We're moving on. Now we have Quinn. So this is Ghostface number 2 of 3 from Scream 6. And what I will say is, of the 3 Ghostface killers, she's actually the one that I'm a little bit more intrigued by. She's still only going to go up to Knife Dropper, though. If I was to rank them like in order, I would put her just above Bailey, just for, your information. But what I like about the character is that she is a pretty effective fake out, because like Billy Loomis in the first film, she's seemingly killed off. Like right before they had the big ladder scene, they put on this little charade that she's getting stabbed like a fucking pincushion right before they all get the fuck out of Dodge, and then we never see her again until she's unmasked in the 3rd act. So that was something that was well done. Doesn't necessarily make her the best, most interesting or memorable character, though, because then she's missing for a large chunk of the film, and I don't think her presence in the 1st act is all that memorable to begin with. So, of the 3, I like her a little bit better, but still, we're not ranking her very high. Now we have the other dickbag from the beginning of Scream 6, who is named Jason Carver. This is the guy from Spider-Man, as well as Rivals of Amaziah King, which is a movie coming to theaters in August that you absolutely need to put your eyes on. There you go. I found a way to make a positive out of a negative. All right, so you got Jason Carver here. He is the other fake-out Ghostface from the opening of Scream 6. And what I will say is, I'll stick him in Knife Dropper for the simple reason that I think that his plan is somewhat interesting. I like the fact that the movie actually gives us a Ghostface reveal in the opening. That was very surprising. I felt a little dick teased because I actually thought they were going to be the main Ghostfaces, and the movie was just going to totally change the status quo and the formula by letting us know who Ghostface is at the beginning and then have some kind of a different journey. I don't know if that would work or not, but I was really excited at that. Like, holy shit, this is different. What the fuck? I wasn't ready for that. Then he gets killed off, and it's more of a typical Scream film. So little bit of a bummer with that. I do like the actor. And of course, he doesn't get stuffed into a fucking fridge before we get to meet him. So he's got a little bit of a leg up on his buddy, but not a whole lot else to say. Like, we don't know him a whole lot. He kills Samara Weaving. Maybe I should put him in the bottom rung for that. What the fuck, man? You killed our queen. All right, moving on. We've got Jill. Jill's going up into Goatface. Jill on some days is my favorite Ghostface. I love the performance from Emma Roberts. I think they do a really good job at faking you out. This was the last movie where I was genuinely surprised at who Ghostface ended up being and did not have it pegged by the middle of Act 2. And I really like the fact that she seems like the new Sydney throughout the movie and then just totally twists her performance in the third act to be the craziest motherfucker maybe in this entire franchise. And it's all because she wants to be the new Sydney. I love her motivation. And I think that it was actually almost a little bit ahead of its time. I thought it was brilliant at the time because my experience at the internet at that point definitely lended itself to what they were talking about and commenting on. But it's only got exponentially crazier since. Like, influencer wasn't even a word back then. And now we are in an influencer obsessed society where everybody wants to be known for something on the internet. Everybody wants to have their voice heard. They want to do promo shit. They want to be on TikTok and Instagram. Everybody wants to be the star of their own show. And that is the entire motivation and commentary here, is somebody that does not want to live in the shadow of her famous aunt. And now she's going to turn the tables herself and become the new Sydney, the new final girl, the new star. I think it's awesome. And I'll tell you right now, I don't exactly know where the rest of the franchise would have gone since then. It's a cool little alternate reality that I'd like to peer into. But the original ending for this movie was to have Jill win, was basically to cut the last 10 minutes or so off of this movie and have it where she's wheeled out, she wins, she achieves what she wants, and then she was going to be a recurring character going forward, like her versus Sydney. And or maybe Sydney was going to die initially. I really don't know. But whatever version it took of Jill continuing on as the winner is an ending that would have had balls. And I would have told you with no question whatsoever, she's the number one Ghostface for many different reasons. As is, we kind of get a little bit of a stupid ending to Scream 4. It doesn't ruin the movie, but for as smart and as diabolical and as crazy as she is up to a point, everything from the hospital onward, she looks like kind of a moron. Because at that point, it's like, okay, your plan's fucked. You're caught. No, you're not getting away with this. You're trying to like systematically murder everybody. Like, it's only gonna make you look worse. So a little bit of a knock for that, but that's a drop in the bucket compared to how much I really like this character. Now we got this Carl. I remember his name, the guy that we don't even fucking meet, Carl. So this is the dude in Scream 7 that shows up in the first act to just mean mug Sydney in her coffee shop. Like, and the camera lingers on him for far too long. Like, there's just random fucking people. There's people that she's talking with, and all of a sudden the character gets his own little focus shot where he's just like, just checking Sydney out. And it's like, okay, unless this is the first movie I've ever seen in my life, pretty big tip off that, that's probably going to come into play somewhere. Now, what's different about this character is that he is a second act Ghostface reveal and he's killed off halfway through the film. Is that different for, the seventh movie? Yes. I don't necessarily think like it's an awesome change. It's not something like, holy fuck, I didn't see that coming. It's Carl. It's the dude from the beginning. I'm shocked. You don't know who the fuck he is. So I don't think it's a very impactful change. So for that reason, I'm going to stick him in wrong number because like, it's just like a throwaway. It's a throwaway Ghostface. There's no impact to that reveal. There's a guy that you saw for 2 seconds in the first act, and then he's ran over like by Gail and the twins and their mystery machine in the second act, and then they unmask him, and it's almost like an in-joke in the movie where everybody's like, who the fuck is this guy? So one of the many things about Scream 7 that, there maybe could have been something there. Just like with Scream 6, having an early Ghostface reveal, there's a lot of potential there that could be really cool, but the way that we get it is just kind of feels like a meaningless throwaway. And now we got Ethan Embry to round out the disaster of Scream 7 Ghostfaces, and they're just going to stick him right next to his partners here in wrong number. So I think his name was Marco. I don't even know if they name him in the movie, but I just know that name because it sounded weird for Ethan Embry to be named Marco. This was possibly the most obvious Ghostface of the entire franchise, save for one that I have not talked about yet, who I like significantly more than him. This is a guy that has one scene in the movie, and the scene that he has pretty much plays out in a way where, again, if this is the first movie you've ever seen, or, you know, maybe even the first movie in this franchise, I could possibly forgive you for not sniffing it out. But my God, like, they go into this mental hospital to try to find evidence of whether or not Stu was there. They run into this guy and they're like, hey, you recognize him? And he's like, oh man, like this is like really fucking illegal, but like, hey, you guys seem cool. Come back here. Let me show you some shit. And he just starts showing them, like dumping all the lore again, just like his partner, what's her face?
Jessica!
And so like in that moment, I'm like, okay, so he's Ghostface. Like there's no discernible reason why he would do any of this unless he was trying to propel some kind of plan forward. Like this is horrible execution. And then, you know, you walk into the third act. And we've talked about all three of our Scream 7 killers here, so might as well just kind of elaborate. So you walk into the third act. One of them's already down for the count since the middle of the film. I'm ready to bet testicles on who the next two killers are going to be. And all I'm hoping for is please have something else in the background to kind of wash over how obvious this is. Maybe you're fucking with me. Maybe you're making this obvious to give me a false sense of comfort and almost like you're giving me like annoyance trickery to make me latch into how disappointing these ghost faces are, and you actually have a mastermind who's even above them, whether it's Stu or somebody else. Please tell me you got something else to pull out of your pocket to make up for all this. And it never fucking came. Marco pulls the mask off. They drag out, you know, Joel McHale. And as soon as the third act, the final act pops off, the climax has started, he gets just shot in the head immediately. So this guy has no presence in the movie. I love Ethan Embry. Okay, you're not going to find a bigger Dutch fan than me. Go check out something like Devil's Candy. He's awesome in that, but it's not his fault. It's the writing. This is an absolutely weak as fuck Ghostface. So Scream 7, again, things about the movie that I like, go check out the review. The Ghost Faces were not it. All three of them absolutely deserve to be here in the bottom. And now we have moved on to Mrs. Loomis from Scream 2, and we are going to stick her right next to her accomplice up here, Mickey. Now, this was one that when I first watched Scream 2, and you know, I was only 7 years old when this movie came out, I thought it was pretty clear that she was a killer just because of how weird her character was. It felt like she had some kind of a grudge with Gail. She would only pop up to be somewhat antagonistic and annoying, and she had no other purpose in the plot other than that. And so even a 7-year-old kid, I was like, I don't know, she seems kind of crazy. She's probably going to be a killer. And when she pops up after Mickey, it's like, for about 2 seconds, it's the lamest reveal because he's like, oh, we got somebody else joining the party. And she pops in, holding Cotton hostage. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah, it was her, whatever. And then you get the secondary reveal of Sydney looking at her and brushing her hair and going, Mrs. Loomis? And it's like, oh, shit. That's actually pretty cool. That's what I was hoping they were going to do with Scream 7. Okay, you had something obvious here, almost felt deliberately obvious, but you had something else to come back with. You had another trick up your sleeve. And that's what Scream 2 had here. And I liked not only Lauren Metcalf's performance, I think she does really good, just like Timothy Oliphant, to be like really over the top and maniacal. For as cartoonish as I thought Dermot Mulroney was, it felt tonally off in that scene for him to do that. It didn't match the rest of the movie or the rest of his character's performance, when I thought that those two was actually a nice little smooth transition and they worked well off of each other. So I really enjoyed both of those Ghostface reveals. I thought they were a good little duo. And I even like the fact that there's that other little reveal that she's kind of the mastermind. You know what I mean? She's the one that killed Randy, which there you go. There's another legacy character, a big fan favorite that she kind of has the award for taking him out. But, you know, she takes out Mickey as like, oh, you know, he was just the fucking wacko kid that I found online. I'm the one pulling the strings around here. I love those types of characters when they're done right. She was done right. Now we got Richie from Scream 5, and I'm going to stick Richie up into Surprise Sydney. I really like him for a lot of different reasons. First of all, I'm a huge fan of Jack Quaid. Just as an actor, he always delivers for me. I think he's done fantastic stuff so far, whether it's The Boys, this, Companion, even Novocaine. Like, he's just one of those guys that when he's there, I automatically assume I'm going to like it. And if nothing else, I'm sure I'm going to like him in it. So I like his performance here, especially after the Ghostface reveal. Like, he's just kind of a stock boyfriend character with a little Jack Quaid charm throughout most of the movie. But once he's revealed, and you get that great line where he's like, yeah, I know, it sucks that it's me. Like, there's just something about that that I really enjoy. I also think that despite the fact that I called this dude being Ghostface within like 2 or 3 lines, as soon as he started talking about, I've never heard of the Stab films, I was like, okay, that's way too on the nose. So I unfortunately pegged him, and it was a big disappointment for me in Scream 5, because otherwise I really liked that movie. But it made up for it with the motivation. As soon as he started talking about toxic fandom and their obsession with the franchise, and the fans make the franchise, just like with Jill, a motivation and a commentary that I really dug, that I really understood at the time. Like, this is fucking valid. I mean, I was already on YouTube for a few years at that point, so I had experienced the worst of it already. And I think that's only grown in relevance since this movie has come out. I mean, the Scream fan base in and of itself has lost its fucking mind ever since Scream 5. Like, things seemed normal and exciting then, and then Scream 6, you had the Nev Campbell pay disputes and people boycotting the movie and trying to spoil it, and a bunch of angry toxicity, and then exponentially more with 7 for all the different reasons. And so this is something that I almost feel like, because of the legacy of the franchise going forward, I look back on even fonder. And I like the fact that, he was a little bit more, him and Amber together were a little bit more of a vicious Ghostface up to that point that we had experienced, where their kills were still pretty basic, but there was just a little more sickness to them, putting the knife slowly into a kid's neck and killing his mom. There's things about the things that they do, the deaths that they bring to these characters, that felt just somehow a little bit more personal, which I enjoyed. And I really enjoy his death too. Like, we haven't really talked about that much up to this point, but him just getting absolutely pincushioned by Sam and having her saying, "Don't fuck with the daughter of a serial killer," and then doing the classic little blood wipe and everything. I think all of that just works together so well, where he's such a great reveal and a great actor, and then just gets turned into an absolute bitch, but in a way that doesn't undercut how great of a ghost face that he is, in my opinion. So really enjoy Richie. He's going to be up there. Now we got Roman. Roman is one that people will hotly debate. There are people that think Roman is the worst Ghostface, and there are people that will plant their feet in the sand and argue tooth and nail that he is the fucking GOAT, because he's the only one that did it by himself. He's the only one that didn't need 1 or 2 accomplices. And for that reason alone, I'm going to stick him up into peer pressure. I'm mixed on Roman, and I've always been. I think that there is something to the fact that he's the only one that did it by himself. I think there's something to the fact that he used a voice changer and was like really creative with the way that he manipulated a lot of things. Even though it's a total jump the shark moment, it's kind of cool that he's Sydney's brother and she has to take out her own blood. The third act fight between him and Sydney is one of the best sequences in the entire franchise. Like, it's a really great fight sequence. And I just like his presence. There's something about after the mask comes off that I believe that this guy could put all this together. I think he sells the fact that he's the only solo Ghostface. Now, there's a lot of logic issues that come with that. This is another one of those movies in this franchise, unfortunately, that went through a lot of behind the scenes turmoil. There was an initial idea that had nothing to do with what the Scream 3 that we actually got, that was scrapped because of Columbine. And then Harvey Weinstein ended up booting Kevin Williamson, the series writer, and giving it to whoever wrote this film. And just to be honest, it's a steep decline as far as I'm concerned. And there was a lot of different changing of ideas. And so I think that this was kind of like Scream 2, where the third act was kind of being juggled. They were kind of spinning plates, trying to figure out exactly how they were going to land the plane. They eventually chose the Ghostface reveal that they did. I don't think the first 2 acts completely set that up effectively. I think there's some difficulty trying to justify how one person did all of this. And also the fact that Maureen Prescott, all the backstory, all the extra lore we get in this movie feels very much shoehorned in. Because aside from the fact that her mother was part of the motivation of Billy Loomis in the first film, like, that's the only nugget that we knew about her. We'd never met her. We've never seen her. And all this stuff about her whoring out in Hollywood is just like thrown in there for the sake of making this reveal work at the end. So I don't think it's a perfect execution. Could have been, but you got to give credit where credit is due. Roman did it himself. That's pretty badass. Now we've got Ethan, our last Ghostface from Scream 6. And this guy is a little bitch. We're going to throw him in wrong number. Like, I don't want to be negative towards the actor because I'm sure it's not his fault, but I don't like this character and I really don't like his character in Avatar either. So I hope he has a role at some point where I actually do like him. But this is a character that I just don't think is that likable. He's kind of annoying just before the reveal throughout the entire movie. He's like the tag along character where you can't quite get a read on him. And then he is the most insufferably annoying of the three in a group that's actually pretty steep competition once you get the little trifecta reveal in the third act, because he just goes like straight like, ha ha ha, yeah, ha ha ha. And then he gets taken out in like 2 fucking seconds by Jenna Ortega, who's already injured. Like, this dude just gets bitched out. You know what I mean? So it just, his only purpose in the third act is to give Sam and Tara like kind of the middle finger to Quinn and to Detective Bailey, to give Sam the reason to be able to look at Quinn and say, oh, it looks like you just lost another brother, like to give her that badass moment. That's the only good that comes out of his character. I also hate the fact that this character is a part of one of the dumbest scenes in the entire film. Like, there's so many things once you know the third act and the reveals of Scream 6, you go back in the first 2 acts and there's like 4 or 5 different things that make no sense whatsoever in hindsight. But the worst offender is when Mindy is stabbed in the subway train by somebody in a Ghostface costume, and she's accusing Ethan the entire movie of being Ghostface, and he's the one that comes to her help. And he's like, oh my God, are you okay? I'm here to help you. And nobody else is there. But he's one of the Ghostfaces. So clearly that was Quinn. Quinn stabbed Mindy, gets the fuck off the train, and then Ethan's there pretending to save Mindy, and being the fact that she survives till the end of the movie is effective in saving Mindy. How does that make sense? Why would he save her? Why would he not finish the job? And who the fuck is he pretending for aside from Mindy, who clearly they want to die? Like, make that make sense. Moving on. All right, so we have Charlie from Scream 4. And I'm going to be honest with you. People are hard on Charlie. People are really hard on Charlie. The worst of the Ghostface killers, while still being a character I like, there's none of these reveals that I thought were terrible characters, is going to be Charlie from Scream 4. But I'm going to stick him up in a surprise Sydney. And I'll tell you why. First of all, I just like Rory Culkin as an actor, especially in the horror space. Like, if you want to watch a really fucked up, disturbing movie, go watch Lords of Chaos, and he's really good in that as well. But I like the way that he's kind of like the new age Randy. He's the film nerd. Like, he's got the guy that's kind of partners with him that splits the difference a little bit, splits the nerdiness, but he definitely is the more likable of the two. He's like the cool nerd. He's like evolves Randy into being somebody that you could actually believe might get the attention of somebody like a Kirby. And when you get to the end of the movie and he's revealed to be a Ghostface, first of all, I love the fact that they recreate the scene from the first film where he's tied to the chair and you have the little trivia session, and then a genuine surprise when she saves him and he stabs her. Again, Scream 4 was the last time I was genuinely surprised with the Ghostface reveals. I was like, oh shit, I didn't expect that. I figured she saved him and then maybe she was going to die. Ghostface was going to like slit his throat or something as soon as she went outside. That's what I was expecting. Nonetheless, the fact that he was revealed as a killer surprised me. There's a good point. And when he starts going through his motivation of like basically being a guy who was friend zoned too long, and that might sound pathetic on paper, but I'm here to tell you as a guy, it's somewhat relatable. Not to the point of homicide, but to really fucking with somebody mentally, that can be a soul crushing thing to experience. Take it from me. But he liked Kirby so much, and the tragedy of the fact that she actually wanted him. Like, she was there, she was ready to give it to him, but it was too little too late. And so his whole thing about, now you show me attention, you stupid bitch, great line. And Jill was the one that gave him what he needed. I'm pretty sure that canonically Rory is the one that kills the girl in the bedroom, and that is the goriest kill in this franchise. Maybe arguably until like one we got in Scream 7, but certainly the most vicious killing. Got to give him points for that. And for the character that is very clearly the subordinate Ghostface, like Jill actually kills him and makes it very clear that she was just using him as a pawn, that gave no fucks about him, just manipulated him very easily because he was a horny little nerdy guy. I think it works. Like, I don't think that undercuts how effective of a Ghostface that he is, or his his memorability or his effectiveness in the movie. I just think it works. I totally get why some people think he's a little pathetic, put him a little bit lower, and I'm sure this is going to be the hot take of the video. But I think for the way the character is written and for being the disposable henchman Ghostface, he's one of the more interesting and entertaining versions of that character that we've ever gotten. And now we are ending with another goat. We've got Stumacher. Of course, he's going up into Goatface. Now, he is definitely the best of like the side Ghostface characters. And I think to a certain extent, people might even take issue with the fact that I'm calling him a side Ghostface. Like, you could make a solid argument that Billy Loomis and Stumacher kind of like 50-50 on this, rather than having like a dominant Ghostface and somebody that just tags along. And if you do kind of go along with the whole thing of Stumacher going along because Billy manipulated him or, you know, peer pressured him, as he says, he just has so much fun with it that he's arguably even more memorable and maybe even leaves even more of an imprint and a legacy than Billy Loomis. I mean, shit, there's no hashtag Billy Lives movement that's been going on for a decade plus. There's no fan subreddits and tweets out there that motivated them to put a AI version of Billy Loomis in Scream 7. So Stumacher, all of the maniacal hilarity that you get out of Matthew Lillard in the original, all the ad-libbed lines that are pretty much all some of the most quoted lines from that original film. It just shows how great of an actor he is, how great of a role this was, how great he is as embodying this role, and how genuinely memorable and impactful he was, whether you agree that he was a 50-50 Ghostface or the subordinate Ghostface. So, like most people, I think that the Ghostface killers in the first film are the best. You know, whatever order you want to put them in, and then Jill's kind of sandwiched in there, but he's a goat. He is one of the greatest of all time. Well, that was a fun little list, so that is it. That is how I rank the Ghostface killers. I didn't realize it was going to be a little bit bottom heavy, but we got quite a few at the top there. Let me know which things you agree on. I'm sure the Scream 7 killers are going to be the ones that are just most like chaotically thrown about, because that movie is just massively divisive right now. Some people hate it, some people love it, a lot of people in between like myself. So use the link down below in the video description, make your own version of this tier list, tag me in it, and let me know if you want in the comments what is the next tier list based off of a horror franchise that you would like to see me do. Well, that's it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed that, click over here for all of my Scream videos. There's reviews and rankings in there, and I'm also going to point you to a tier list that I did not too long ago where I ranked all of the horror franchises, and Scream is of course on that list. Like, share, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss everything in the future. And as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean you have to be.